Charlie said...
Charlie says, when you're an executive at a company and the staff whose very careers you hold in your hands tell you they're happy when you ask them, but when they're ex-staff or speaking anonymously, they tell you they're not happy, you should believe the latter, even if you want to believe the former. They're not happy. Cult-like tendencies among self-styled hardcore gamers' trademark are not unusual. In fact, cultish attitudes run throughout nerd culture in general and can be a real problem. Some people are willing to so closely tie their personal identities to the entertainment products they purchase that they'll go to extravagant lengths to protect their favourite corporate-owned intellectual property from all threats, criticism and insult, either real or perceived. We see this manifest in the outrageous responses to video game reviews featuring even milquetoast critique. We see this in the death threats and harassment so casually enacted upon anyone online who doesn't think like the herd and pander directly to a crowd that often claims to despise the concept of pandering while wanting AAA games and those who write about them to be and do everything they want and nothing anyone else wants. More frighteningly, and I use that word deliberately, is the zealous loyalty reserved for the game industry's most darling companies, an unquestioning sense of obligation to a multi-billion-dollar industry that not only doesn't care about them, but actively exploits them and their mindlessly unflinching love. Such cultists will viciously go after anybody who stands between them and their ability to uncritically engage with video game products. I am emphasising the word product here not so much to insult games, but to insult what these people want games to be. Cravenly apolitical, focus-tested, pandering products. They'll happily tell you that's not what they want, but if they don't get exactly what they want, and when they want it, all hell inevitably, predictably breaks loose. I mean, CDPR's highly anticipated Cyberpunk 2077 got a 3-week delay recently. Just 3 weeks. With the game originally due out in November, that is an incredibly last-minute delay, and rightly shocking to those looking forward to it. The response from the game's most ardent fans, however, has been pathetic and downright fucking horrifying. Cyberpunk 2077's developers, who have already been struggling with a company that overworks and mistreats them, then allows their fans to demonize anybody speaking up about the toxic workplace environment, are now facing death threats from those very same fans. Think about that. Some gamers out there apparently love games so much, they want to kill the people who make them. And they say I'm wrong when I say there's no difference between a sufficiently selfish hardcore gamer and an abusive AAA game publisher. Senior game designer Andrzej Zawadzki had to publicly plead with the gamers not to verbally assault and threaten those still working hard on the very game they're meant to be fans of, because of a 3-week delay. This is on top of having their overall health threatened by the depressing work conditions, abusive crunch requirements, and toxic corporate ladder that we've all fucking known about for years before now. It's not a secret. I understand you're feeling angry, disappointed, and want to voice your opinion about it, explains Zawadzki. However, sending death threats to the developers is absolutely unacceptable and just wrong. We are people just like you. In an industry that so routinely dehumanizes its hardest workers, the lack of empathy for game developers is sadly expected. Doesn't mean it's okay, doesn't mean it's not a grim surprise every time, but it's the inevitable result of a very clear plan in the industry. As I've said in the past, game publishers want you to believe brands and logos make our games, not human beings. They want us to praise the studio as a monolithic entity, a thing that has always been here and will always be here regardless of the staff, just continuing to churn out the products you enjoy until the end of time. And if they do shut down, don't worry, the publisher has the IP. And since developers are apparently so easily replaceable, you'll still get your sequels, so don't worry. It's that kind of fuck the devs, the brand's what matters attitude that leads to such utter fucking shit as Metal Gear Survive, by the way. It's also a distressingly successful ploy on the part of the mainstream industry. The lack of due credit, the anonymizing of outspoken employees, the emphasis on studios and downplay of human focus in marketing. It's all contributed to this idea that game developers are little more than a roiling mass of flesh behind a trademarked name. There can be no doubt that the ongoing problem of harassment and hatred in the gaming community is a problem actively nurtured by publishers, whether the harassment was the intended end goal or not. And the fact so many publishers to this day remain utterly and entirely silent whenever their workers are terrorized by alleged fans speaks volumes to the amount of regard they have for human safety. So, as I will continue to say, there is no functional difference between a selfish enough gamer and a AAA publisher. They want the same thing. Quickly made, mechanically complex, visually stunning, and unquestioningly indulgent commodities. And if they don't get what they want, both consider fear and abuse the perfect way to get it. One CDPR community manager has said that after almost 6 years of creating content for YouTube, the threats received in the wake of Cyberpunk 2077's delay were particularly vile. And for anybody who's dealt with the YouTube comment section that long to say these threats were bad, I friggin' shudder to imagine just how fucked up those threats must have been. YouTube is the devil's glory hole is what I'm saying. And among Cyberpunk 2077 fans, there apparently exists far, far worse. And for what? For fucking what, though? A bloody fucking video game. No game, not even fucking Gitaroo Man, the best game ever made, is good enough to justify the overwhelming goddamn hassle that has been Cyberpunk 2077. The overworking of developers, the mentally damaging work conditions, CDPR's constant flirtations with transphobia/fetishism, the lying to both the public and the staff from studio leadership, the hypocritical microtransactions that everybody says are okay now just because CDPR's doing it, the slandering and castigation of any journalist who accurately reports on the company's history, the fan babies who will launch a wagon-circling intimidation campaign against anybody who threatens, the immediate and unchallenged release of Cyberpunk 2077, up to and including the developers themselves for needing more time on the fucking thing. Is any of that worth it? For a game? Really though? If you have a callous disregard for other people, then certainly yes. For anyone else, it's just a fucking game. And I say that as someone who has misjudged their life to the point where their entire thing is taking games too seriously. It's just a fucking video game, another overhyped AAA toy. And I have no doubt in my mind that it'll be a quality toy. I'm not saying it won't be good, but nothing's worth this. Nobody even seems to be fucking happy. The devs are miserable, according to anyone who isn't in a leadership position. People who care about game dev conditions are rightly concerned. LGBTQ+ fans feel alienated, and the hardcore gamers themselves are acting like folks who have never known genuine happiness their whole life. And when the game finally comes out, will we all suddenly smile and laugh and wonder how we were ever so mad? No, because then we'll have people pissing their little britches over review scores, we'll have violent arguments about the game's handling of social issues, and CDPR's employees will still be coerced into crunching for unreasonable lengths of time as they rush to support Cyberpunk post-launch. Fucking hell, it's a grinding slog even thinking about certain fucking games these days.
Charlie says...
Fuck delaying it for 3 weeks. Cyberpunk 2077 should be delayed for 3 years. I mean it, why not? Delay the thing for 3 years, if that's what it takes to make this game the way everyone wants it in a manner that won't cause harm to those making it. Delay the thing for 3 years if it's such a sprawl and it needs increasing amounts of time even after going gold. Delay the thing for 3 years that it might be enjoyed by those of us who by then haven't succumbed to COVID, been eaten by murder hornets, or gotten dragged away by unmarked police vehicles under the flimsy banner of law and order. Sorry, didn't mean to get political. I'll take a leaf out of Cyberpunk 2077's book, a game not making any political statements, based on a sci-fi genre known for being... political. Anyway, just recently, a CD Projekt Red executive once again had to apologise to beleaguered employees for chatting utter fucking shit. Hot off the heels of Adam Badowski apologising over crunch that he promised wouldn't happen but did. And happened a lot earlier than the public was led to believe, by the way. Co-CEO Adam Kaczynski has admitted to making utterly bad comments in a call with investors where he severely downplayed the studio's workload.
Regarding crunch, actually it's not that bad, never was,
said Kaczynski. untruthfully.
Of course, it's a story that's been picked up by the media, and some people have been crunching heavily, but a large part of the team is not crunching at all since they've finished their work. It's mostly about QA and engineers, programmers, but it's not that heavy.
He would later apologise for the harmful and demeaning way in which he described his workers' experiences, and to his limited credit, he made no excuse for it. But it's hard to believe an apology from a CDPR executive is sincere. It's hard to believe because they've lied multiple times already, they've constantly attempted to downplay crunch, they've routinely dismissed news reports on their work conditions with a Republican level of bad faith, and on more than one occasion they've done something shitty, said sorry, and then done it again. All the time skating on goodwill from the gamers, which it spends like Monopoly money. These are the hallmarks of a cynical, money-hungry AAA game publisher because, and I hate to break it to the cultists out there, that is what CDPR is. That is all CDPR as a company is. It's another mainstream game publisher with all the abuse and disappointment mainstream game publishing brings. When it comes to corporate attitudes, when you really boil it down, the only major difference between CDPR and Activision is one hell of a terrifyingly effective PR campaign. And look, CD Projekt Red makes a hell of a sales pitch. They make excellent games, there's no denying that, and they've always said the right things to look and sound all pro-consumer. I've championed their work in the past, but over the years it's become more and more clear that that work has come at a very cruel cost. But to see that cost written off as nothing, still, after years, to see the hypocrisy in a community that celebrates criticizing EA for things that CDPR is protected for, the willful, deliberate ignorance, the frustration I've been feeling about this whole thing for the past couple months and beyond is just, there are large subreddits that will ban my content because I've criticized CDPR. There's a wholesale denial that CDPR can do wrong, and it's worrying. Even now, with years of allegations, piles of examples of dishonesty, and clear evidence that the situation at CDPR is at least worth investigating further, the cult of Red utterly rejects reality. Here's just a couple quotes pulled from recent replies to Jason Schreier, who has reported frequently on CD Projekt Red in the face of consistent abuse. "I get this is rubbish, but in reality, why do we, the public, need to know about it? I'm getting very tired of this story, and Jason, you are the only person on the internet who I can actually see reporting on it. They worked hard, so do lots of people."
Nothing to see here!
He apologized. We can now move on, right?
Jason, please be quiet. Because of journalists crying about working, which is ironic, they keep delaying the game.
Yeah, they keep delaying the game, that's the important thing here. The entitlement, the selfishness, the utter callousness. There's a poisoned relationship between game publishers and their most loyal fans. A dangerously codependent and complicit one where they encourage and condone the abusive excesses of the other, because those excesses get each party what they want. And some of those most loyal to CDPR are engaging in behaviour that can only be categorised as sick. It's not well behaviour. And that's the game industry for you, isn't it? It ain't well. It hasn't been well for a long time. And while unionisation isn't the cure, some treatment for capitalism poisoning is better than nothing. Over in Poland, where CD Projekt Red is based, LGBTQ+ people are facing a terrifying level of discrimination. Areas of the country have been declared LGBTQ+ free zones. It's symbolic, it's not enforced, but the message is clear that there are areas of the country where people like me would absolutely not be welcome. The current president there is entirely encouraging of it. People are being dehumanized, they're being lied about, they're being treated like they're filth, like actual filth. I know I have Polish viewers, and I just want to say I'm sorry. I don't know what to even fucking say, but I'll include a link to a resource for people to learn more about it and see if they can see what they could do to help. I'll put the link. It's on screen now. It'll be in the description as well. I really hope things get better over there, not just for my viewers, but everyone. suffering over there. I am thinking about you all over there, and I'm terrified for you, and Jesus. Just remember, they can't legislate you out of existence. They will try, but they can't. Because you exist, and you are valid, and you are real, and they can fuck off. Charlie says, looking at these replies that I quoted just a moment ago, and many replies like them, one of the really unsettling elements of this is the one thread they share among all of these is a desire to forget, a desire to move on, a desire to say nothing to see here, as one commenter said. Does the public have to know about this? It's such a drag. You know, he said sorry, and now it's fine. I know I've been mentioning it off and on, but once again, I must say it's just alarming that after all the time spent criticizing companies, all of it's fine and on the table, all of that criticism is okay, until a game people really want to play is coming out, and then all of a sudden it's, well, you know, let's not think about that. Oh, Ubisoft spent years protecting, promoting, covering up for abusers of every kind, at every level. But, oh, Watch Dogs Legion's come out, let's get our review copies, no updates on the investigation, let's focus on the game, for the good of the people who worked on it, because that makes us feel better about it. Let's say it's about supporting the people who worked on it, that we don't mention the abuse they went through. Here's another thing I've said before, and yeah, I get it, the Jimquisition repeats a lot of points, but I keep having to, not just because of game publishers never learning their lessons, but because of the gamers never learning their lessons either. Because a couple of years ago, we were having very similar discussions about Final Fantasy 15 being delayed by about a month, couple of weeks, and people losing their absolute shit, and accusing again Jason Schreier of having an agenda at the time for predicting it accurately. Why are we here again? We've got a virus on the street and murder hornets. We've got original problems. Come up with some, fucking gamers. Where were we? Oh, right, yeah. So just another point that bears repeating. If you want to ignore it, if you want to sweep it under the rug and pretend that nothing happened and just let it all go away, fine. Enjoy it. Have fun with your Watch Dogs Legion. I won't begrudge it you much, but stop telling the people who still give a shit to stop giving a shit. I don't care if it makes you feel bad, that's not what people are trying to do. I don't care if it takes some of the fun away from playing Watch Dogs or Assassin's Creed or indeed Cyberpunk 2077. That's not the point. I'll leave the debate about tripping in Smash Brothers to you. You stay in your lane, and I'll stay in mine. I'll keep talking about the problems that I talk about on this show, and then you can talk about, you know, what is it that you talk about? The easy modes, well, no, I've done videos on that as well. Just shut up. Well, thank God for me first, and then shut up.